It was a crisp Tuesday morning in downtown Chicago when Detective Sarah Martinez received the call that would change everything. The voice on the other end was trembling, barely coherent through tears. "My daughter, she's gone. Emma's been missing." For 3 days, Detective Martinez had handled countless missing person cases in her 12 years on the force, but something about this one felt different from the moment she arrived at the Thompson family home on Maple Street. The house was filled with relatives, neighbors, and volunteers, all wearing the same expression of desperate hope mixed with growing dread. Emma Thompson, age 7, had disappeared while walking home from Lincoln Elementary School. She had curly, blonde hair, bright green eyes, and was wearing a red backpack with a unicorn patch. Details that had been broadcast across every news station in the city. Despite extensive searches, canvassing neighborhoods, and checking security cameras, the police had found nothing. It was as if the little girl had simply vanished into thin air. "We've searched everywhere," Officer Jake Williams told Sarah as they stood outside the school. "Every house, every business, every car in a 5-mile radius. The FBI is bringing in additional resources, but so far, we have absolutely nothing." Sarah nodded, studying the route Emma would have taken home. It was a safe neighborhood, tree-lined streets with modest houses, the kind of place where people still left their doors unlocked. How could a child disappear in broad daylight without a single witness? That's when she noticed them. At first, it was just one cat, a sleek black female, sitting perfectly still on the sidewalk, staring directly at Sarah. The cat's green eyes seemed almost human in their intensity, and there was something unsettling about the way it watched her every movement. "Shoo," Officer Williams said, waving his hand at the cat. "Go on, get out of here." But the cat didn't move. Instead, it stood up, walked a few steps toward the corner, then stopped and looked back at them. When they didn't follow, it meowed, and once, a sharp, demanding sound, and repeated the action. "That's weird," Williams muttered. "It's like it wants us to follow it." Sarah had always been intuitive, a trait that had served her well as a detective. Something about this cat's behavior struck her as significant. "Let's see where it goes," she said. The black cat led them 3 blocks north, stopping frequently to ensure they were still behind it. At the intersection of Oak and 3rd Street, it was joined by another cat, this one orange and white, slightly larger, with a torn ear that suggested it had seen its share of street fights. "Now there's 2 of them," Williams observed, his voice carrying a note of unease. The orange cat seemed to communicate with the black one through a series of soft meows and head gestures. Then, to Sarah's amazement, the orange cat walked to a storm drain and began pawing at the metal grate. "What are they doing?" Williams asked. Sarah knelt down and examined the drain. The grate was slightly askew, and there were small scuff marks around the edges. More importantly, caught on one of the metal bars was a tiny piece of red fabric. "Jake, call forensics," Sarah said, her heart beginning to race. "I think we found something." The fabric was confirmed to be from Emma's backpack. The storm drain led to an extensive underground tunnel system that ran beneath the older part of the city. Suddenly, they had their first real lead, but the cats weren't finished. As the crime scene team began their work at the storm drain, a 3rd cat appeared, a grey tabby with white paws. This one approached Sarah directly, meowing insistently and rubbing against her legs. When it had her attention, it walked toward a nearby apartment building and sat down in front of it. "This is getting really strange," Williams said, but Sarah was already following the tabby. The apartment building was old, probably built in the 1940s, with a "For Rent" sign in one of the ground floor windows. The grey tabby led them around to the back, where it stopped at a basement window. The window was partially open, and there were fresh scratches in the dirt below it. Too small to have been made by a person, but the right size for a child. Someone's been using this as an entrance. Sarah realized. They requested a search warrant for the building, but while they waited, more cats began to appear. First a calico, then a white Persian with mismatched eyes, then a scrappy brown tabby that looked like it had been in countless fights. They came from different directions, but they all seemed to be working together, each one providing a piece of the puzzle. The calico led them to a parking lot 6 blocks away, where they found Emma's hair ribbon tied to a chain-link fence, clearly placed there as a signal. The Persian took them to a convenience store where the security camera had captured footage of a man purchasing children's snacks and juice boxes at unusual times. The brown tabby showed them tire tracks behind an abandoned warehouse that didn't match any of the legitimate delivery vehicles. "I don't understand what's happening here," Williams admitted as they stood surrounded by 7 cats, each one looking at them expectantly. "It's like they're trying to tell us something." Sarah was beginning to form a theory, as impossible as it seemed. What if they are trying to tell us something? What if they saw what happened to Emma? The idea should have sounded ridiculous, but the evidence was mounting. Each cat had led them to a crucial piece of information, and together, these pieces were forming a clear picture of Emma's abduction. The search warrant came through at 4 p.m. Sarah, Williams and a team of officers entered the apartment building. Guided by the black cat that had started it all, the basement was divided into several storage units, most of them filled with old furniture and boxes. But one unit was different. It contained a makeshift living space, a mattress, some children's toys, and most importantly, Emma's red backpack. "She's been here," Sarah said, her voice tight with emotion. But Emma wasn't there now, and there was no indication of where she might have been taken next. That's when the cats outside began making noise. It started with the black cat, whose meow was joined by the orange one, then the tabby, until all 7 cats were creating a cacophony that could be heard throughout the neighborhood. They weren't just meowing randomly. They were all facing the same direction, toward the old industrial district on the south side of town. "They want us to follow them," Sarah said with certainty. The procession was surreal. 2 police officers and 7 determined cats walking through the streets of Chicago as the sun began to set. They moved through residential neighborhoods, past shuttered factories, until they reached a complex of abandoned warehouses that had once been the heart of the city's manufacturing district. The cats spread out, each taking position at a different building, but their attention was focused on one warehouse in particular, a massive concrete structure with boarded-up windows and a corrugated metal roof. The black cat sat directly in front of the main entrance, while the others positioned themselves at what Sarah realized were all the possible escape routes. "Call for backup," Sarah told Williams, "and get the SWAT team out here." As they waited, for reinforcements, Sarah studied the warehouse. It was the perfect place to hide someone, isolated with multiple entry points and far from any residential areas where screams might be heard. If someone had taken Emma, this was exactly the kind of place they would bring her. The SWAT team arrived as darkness fell. Using thermal imaging equipment, they confirmed that there were at least 2 heat signatures inside the warehouse, one adult-sized, one much smaller. Emma was alive. The rescue operation was swift and precise. The suspect, a 34-year-old man named Marcus Webb, was taken into custody without incident. Emma was found in a makeshift room in the back of the warehouse, frightened but unharmed. She had been given food and water, suggesting that Webb had been planning to keep her for an extended period. As paramedics checked Emma over and she was reunited with her tearful parents, Sarah found herself surrounded by the 7 cats. They sat in a perfect semicircle, looking up at her with what she could only describe as satisfaction. "I don't know how you did it," she said quietly, "but thank you." The black cat approached her and rubbed against her legs once before walking away. One by one, the other cats followed, disappearing into the night as mysteriously as they had appeared. The investigation revealed that Marcus Webb had been watching Emma for weeks, learning her routine and waiting for the right opportunity, had used the storm drain system to move her from the initial abduction site to the apartment basement, then later to the warehouse. Without the cat's intervention, Emma might never have been found. In the days that followed, Sarah tried to understand what had happened. She researched the cats, talked to local animal control officers, and even consulted with animal behaviorists. The consensus was that it should have been impossible. Cats don't organize rescue operations, they don't work together to help humans, and they certainly don't lead police to evidence. But the facts were undeniable. 7 cats had systematically led law enforcement to every crucial piece of evidence needed to solve the case. They had worked together with a level of coordination that seemed to defy everything science knew about feline behavior. Dr. Elizabeth Chen, a veterinarian and animal behavior specialist at Northwestern University, offered one possible explanation. Animals, especially cats, are incredibly observant. They notice patterns and changes in their environment that humans often miss. It's possible that these cats witnessed the abduction and somehow understood that the little girl needed help. But even Dr. Chen admitted that the level of organization and purposeful behavior displayed by the cats was unprecedented. The story made national news. "Cats help solve child abduction case," read the headlines. The 7 cats became local celebrities, with people leaving food and water for them throughout the neighborhood. A local artist even created a mural depicting the cats as superhero figures, which was painted on the side of Lincoln Elementary School. Emma recovered fully from her ordeal. She returned to school 3 weeks later, and while she was understandably cautious around strangers, she showed no lasting psychological trauma. Her parents credited the quick resolution of the case, made possible by the cats, with preventing more serious harm. "Those cats saved our daughter's life," Robert Thompson said in an interview with Channel 7 News. "We'll never know why they decided to help, but we'll be grateful to them forever." Sarah Martinez was promoted to detective lieutenant 6 months later, partly in recognition of her work on the Emma Thompson case. But she never forgot the lesson those 7 cats taught her. Sometimes help comes from the most unexpected places, and being open to unconventional sources of information can make all the difference. She kept a small ceramic cat figurine on her desk as a reminder of that incredible Tuesday when a group of street cats showed her that heroes come in all shapes and sizes. The warehouse where Emma was found was eventually demolished and turned into a small park. At the center of the park stands a bronze statue of a little girl surrounded by 7 cats with a plaque that reads, "In memory of unexpected friendships and the courage to help those in need." Marcus Webb was sentenced to 25 years in prison for kidnapping and child endangerment. During his trial, he expressed bewilderment at how the police had found him so quickly, never learning about the role the cats had played in his capture. As for the 7 cats, they were never seen together again after that night. Some were spotted individually around the city, living their normal feline lives, but they never again displayed the remarkable cooperative behavior that had saved Emma's life. Detective Martinez often wondered if they somehow knew their job was done, that the little girl was safe, and they could return to being ordinary cats. Perhaps they had never been ordinary at all. The case became a teaching example at the police academy. Though instructors were careful to emphasize the importance of following evidence rather than attributing the solution to supernatural intervention, but every police officer who heard the story came away with a deeper appreciation for paying attention to the unexpected, for being open to help from unlikely sources. Years later, when Emma graduated from high school, she gave a speech about overcoming adversity and the importance of community support. She ended her speech with these words: "Sometimes our greatest helpers are the ones we least expect. Sometimes courage has 4 paws and a purr." In the audience that day, Detective Martinez wiped away a tear and thought about 7 remarkable cats who had reminded her that in a world that often seems dark and dangerous, there are still guardian angels watching over us. Even if they happen to have whiskers, the mystery of why those cats chose to help may never be solved, but their legacy lives on in the life they saved and the hearts they touched. Emma Thompson grew up to become a veterinarian, dedicating her life to helping animals in return for the help she received from 7 unlikely heroes on one terrifying day in Chicago. And sometimes, late at night, residents of the old neighborhood swear they can see cats moving through the shadows with purpose, as if they're still watching over the community, ready to help when help is needed most. The bond between humans and animals has always been special, but the case of Emma Thompson and her feline guardians proved that sometimes, just sometimes, that bond can work miracles.